Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Backrooms Podcast. I'm your host, Hylius. I'm joined by user Bart0nius and user
Hi.
MacabreTomb. Please
Hello.
introduce yourselves.
Bart.
Hi, I'm Bart0nius. I was one of the first writers for the Backrooms community. I've kind of been here since day one. I've seen it all. And Mac, you introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Bart. Me and Bart have been around since the start of the Backrooms that started in summer of 2019, 2 years ago. I joined a little after Bart during the creation of the fandom wiki, which was also in the summer of 2019. A lot of it happened in June. But Bart was the first explorer. He created the first levels and had the idea of making stories in the first place. He started out making stories on the subreddit, then moved on to the Discord, but it's a long timeline of stuff that we should probably continue on with some questions, Hylius, if you have anything.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say this podcast is going to be mostly focusing on some offsite content, the origins of the Backrooms, and the involvement of my two guests here in creating that kind of thing. A lot of our users are directly affiliated with the wiki, and that means they're not really aware of where we came from, the origins of this stuff. A lot of people will just go, "Oh yeah, wasn't that like a 4chan post or whatever?" But there's a lot of in between, going right between the 4chan post and the wiki, just the same as there was in our kind of sister situation, the SCP wiki. A lot of people go, yeah, that was a 4chan post, and then they made a wiki dot for it. That is not true. There was so much in between, and I'm hoping that we can answer a couple of questions about that today. Why don't you start with telling us exactly how you got involved with the Backrooms project?
Well, I got involved when there's a YouTube video called The Backrooms with spaces between everything, like THEBAC, etc., etc. And it was just a 2-minute video of the original post with the fluorescent light noise over it. That video got like hundreds of thousands. I'm pretty sure the original had millions of views, and it drawn in a lot of people.
Not even a voiceover?
No, it was just
Not even a voiceover.
ambient fluorescent buzz.
Yep, it was to
Wow.
create mystery, essentially. But that was like the biggest thing. It popped up in everyone's recommended back when Backrooms first started, when it was first a meme, in this summer of 2019. But I didn't join until a ways after the Discord creation. Bart was actually here before me when the subreddit was first started.
Well,
The first subreddit.
I actually am not entirely sure when the subreddit was created, because I sort of stumbled upon it totally by accident. I'd heard about the Backrooms before. I'd seen the original 4chan post. One of my friends showed it to me. And then I was just going through Reddit at like 11 p.m. late one night, and I saw it recommends subreddits to you, Reddit does. And one of them was our Backrooms, and I looked at it and it was kind of, there wasn't a whole lot. It was like really short posts. And for whatever reason, I thought it would be incredibly funny to suggest like a couple random additions to the Backrooms. Like, I don't know, maybe there's Wi-Fi in some areas, or like there's water coolers on this one level. And after that, there was a lot more writing. A lot more people wanted to contribute their ideas to the community, and it sort of continued spiraling. That makes it sound like a bad thing.
It kind of was. There was some parts that were
It kind of
awful.
was, yeah. Because the thing is, on the original subreddit,
There was no
almost
moderation.
immediately, there was no moderation. There was no quality control. Almost immediately, everything started going downhill. Because half of it was like random SCP references, and the other half was Trevor Henderson art.
And then every once
And
in a while,
so-
you would get a little tiny nugget of quality, and that's what made it worth it, right?
That's what made
Yeah.
it worth it. Yes, you would
But-
see some really good idea and be like, okay, maybe this is all right. This is probably worth it.
Yeah, but the thing that's really weird is the subreddit didn't really stem any quality content. There's Bart stuff, which was like the best thing there, and nobody else really did anything because anyone who made stories and wanted to get them heard moved over to the Discord that was created by some of the mods of the subreddit, including Bart.
I wasn't there
A
for the
little bit
creation
after the
of the
subreddit.
Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, does this Discord still exist?
No.
No, it's
yes
gone.
and no.
No, I'm pretty sure Flatfoot deleted it.
Did it, or is it? I
Yeah.
thought it was still like
after,
barely kicking.
No. After that last thing where all the channels were erased and all the members were kicked, everyone just stopped. I'm pretty sure Flatfoot erased it. But essentially, after the start of the subreddit and after stories were actually stemming out, people were like, we have to make something that'll be able to store these in a general area that people can critique them and whatnot more. Like exactly what you guys did with the Wikidot. Because communicating over Discord is super easy. So it started as just discussion, stories, discoveries, and 2RP channels, I'm pretty sure. And then a few off-topic things, and all it was people jumped in and basically pretended they were in the back rooms, is from what I got from it. I didn't participate till a little bit later, but people started this story kind of just a first-person RP thing. And another guy by the name of Chaos Raider, I'm pretty sure, went off and created a fandom wiki, just based off of these first levels that they saw from the subreddit.
There it is, isn't it?
Yep, that's it. After the subreddit, after the Discord, they created this little fandom wiki just to keep everything in check, and then completely ditched it. So there's no moderation.
Because, again, no quality control, and nobody could figure out how to delete posts. Fun fact, this is the origins point of Jerry. Jerry started off as like one of the posts. There was one of the mods, I remember, he was really mad because he couldn't delete it.
Yeah.
And it was like such a break from the rest of the tone he was like whatever, and he just begrudgingly kept it.
Yeah,
and
no, Jerry has been around
became its own
forever.
thing.
I can't imagine what the server would be like what the server in the wiki would be like if they'd managed to delete that and that it just wasn't around anymore. We'd have such a drastically different environment.
Oh
Because
yeah.
just recently we had another person submit an entry to mirror that one. It's like a cat named Barry, and that one's really popular right now, and everybody's going buck wild about that. And there's a whole canon where they're involved, and I could just imagine that never would have happened if you just nixed Jerry right in the butt.
Yeah. Jerry Jerry sort of set the tone for the wave of entities that would arrive now, years after it was created, and then there was just this huge gap in between where people kind of just ignored it.
Yeah, there's a huge year where like people just ignored the backrooms. In general.
Kind of just like everything went really quiet for a while.
Yeah.
And then the Wikidot, and then things started to boot up again in full force.
Well, now. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, aren't we?
A tad, yeah.
We need to talk about a couple specific things. First off, Bart0nius, for those who aren't familiar with your work, what are you primarily known for? What instances of stuff? What was your story?
Well, my story, I guess I was one of the first people to do like actual writing that wasn't just like, help, I'm in the back rooms. How do I get out of the back rooms? Please, somebody help me. It was just dinky little Reddit posts that I made when I was like, I was like 15, and
God,
I made
so
like,
long.
It's been so long. I made a couple of posts that were just sort of contributing ideas from a first-person perspective, like, okay, so there's apparently Wi-Fi here in like certain areas, or like, yeah, I found a water cooler, and just like some other stuff that was sort of like, it wasn't like trying to overplay like the fear or anything. It was sort of from the perspective of somebody who'd been here a while and was documenting their findings, and from there, once it sort of took off, I sort of began getting to other levels. I sort of had like my story go past level 3 or 4 or whatever. And then we got to the parts, the contributions that I think I'm probably most well known for, which are levels 6 through 8, particularly
I
7.
did 8.
Yeah, 8 was more of a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
Really, I think actually, it was probably more just that I uploaded the story about level 8, and people just sort of took it as I wrote it. But
And
it
then
wasn't just me,
Fandom
no.
Wiki.
Fandom Wiki.
It's like a disease. It just takes and does not give back.
That brings me to a related question. So you guys put down a lot of framework for what the Backrooms would eventually
Yeah.
become. And a lot of it has like been handled by other people, touched. People have picked it up and moved it around and put it to different places. How much of your original work surviving do you think you could find on the current Backrooms wiki doc?
There's the thing I could probably find from my stuff. It'd be hard to find some of Bart's stories because his was on Reddit, but I was the one who rewrote the original 4 levels on the fandom wiki. I was the top editor for like a good week or so until I just ditched it because there was like hundreds of trolls and there's no moderation. So I would take like an hour editing a page and the next day it would be gone. So it was super harrowing, super exhausting. But like if I went down and read the rewritten levels 0 and 1, I could probably find some sentences in there that I wrote all that time ago. The thing, Tiny from Bart technically survived, but he's just been changed a lot.
Tiny, the thing about Tiny is I'm pretty sure that was the original was sort of lost in translation because the original was on the fandom wiki, and then during that time frame at which the entire fandom wiki was overrun with people who were just there to mess everything up, that got totally rewritten into a different thing. And then when people were bringing stuff over to the Wikidot from the fandom wiki, people saw the thing on level 7 and were like, and they went with it. Because if you look at the thing on level 7 in its current form on the Wikidot, it is not at all what it was originally supposed to be. But I don't think that was somebody entirely rewriting it on the Wikidot. I think it was something from the fandom. In terms of the actual levels, 6 is very, very different. It's much more fleshed out, and a lot of the concepts are more refined than when I originally had the concept for it. And level 7, I rewrote in like December, November, or something of last year. It could probably still use another rewrite, but technically, very little of the original stuff that I posted.
And that is a big part. There is a reason why our story has just been isolated, and like I said, this mainly because I'm trying to write it into like a full screenplay. But there's a lot of stuff in the original, a lot of characters, a lot of ideas that were really out of the blue. So at first, the primary reason why we didn't share it with anyone, because like the elitists over at True Backrooms probably would have given us crap for like 2 months if we were to spread it. And another reason was just we didn't really want to spread anywhere because there was only like 2 other communities, and one of them merged with us about halfway through the Discord's lifespan. And that's where Invincible comes from. He comes from the other Discord subreddit who merged with us and then got to know us better over that summer. But that getting a little ahead. First week of the Discord was batshit insane. It was nuts. It was to like at least 1,500 people all joined because the subreddit had like 50k people subscribed to it because the Backrooms exploded after that video released. So you had thousands of people on here, all trying to jam into these tiny little RP and story channels, every single one making a different story of just ranging quality, from absolutely fantastic to something my little sister could write. And it was insane. So the fandom wiki was kind of the first thing that we had grounded, which was why we even kept it open in the first place and why we didn't contact the owner sooner, because without the fandom wiki, we didn't really have any consistency. That was until people started to lose the energy, and a lot of just the people who jumped in for the fun of it just dissipated because they didn't want to do the Backrooms anymore. They wanted to move on to different projects, or they didn't want to continue doing a story that was technically going nowhere. And that kind of released some of the big trolls, I want to say, because I don't think they were trolling. They're probably just not the best at understanding a cohesive plot. But there's a guy named IDK Test. That was his username.
Oh, Lord.
He jumped on in the beginning and instantly just ideas that were so god-awful. He wanted to make an army of people in the Backrooms with 100,000 members. And there was just an argument over the first month of just, we gotta lower this, because it doesn't make any sense. 100,000 people in like one level would be nuts. You would never find like any moment of isolation. So
we had a huge problem with like armies and stuff being created in the beginning. I think that's partially due to groups becoming a thing, and then this guy sort of with his two groups, one of which was literally just the NCR from Fallout, and I don't even remember the other one, but they were both like 50,000, 250,000 members, guns, whatever.
Is this where the Cold Reich started?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that was a different person. IDK Test did not make anything that lasted longer than a week.
Yeah.
But that did stem, it kind of branched out, and there was one good army group that kind of stuck through the original, which was the Insurgency. And the idea was, it was a smaller group of people who just kind of made people's lives worse because they wanted to become like the one soul, like humanity will rule the Backrooms, blah, blah, but they bit off more than they could chew, and we made that into a story. At least the first arc. And that's kind of how things branched out.
They were sort of the catalyst for like how our story really got going.
Yeah.
Where it turned into a plot-driven thing rather than a whole bunch of people kind of spitballing.
Yeah, exactly. So the entire thing is we created characters, like actual protagonists, who banded together and defeated the Insurgency as like this simple thing. And we're like, after that point, a lot of people were like, oh, I think this is good. This is a nice, tiny little thing to end it. It was like maybe a 2-week adventure with the Insurgency. But a lot of the main people, like me, Bart, another guy named Kenny, Joe on the other server, just the big writers were like, the characters were good. The characters each had a very unique personality, and we really put effort into them. So we're just, why not make another arc? Why not branch out? So we had the idea of just, why not explain where the Backrooms came from? Why are there higher powers? Why is there like seemingly magic in some of these entities? What do they come from? So we delve into the idea of what these are and explain them in a way that could be translated essentially to a script or on screen. It turned from an RP to a collaborative screenwriting project, was basically what it was. With some, like, the dialogue doesn't really count. The dialogue was pretty, like, scuffed and on the fly.
It was
but, like,
pretty shaky mistakey here and there.
Yeah, but the baseline story and what we had planned turned out insanely well, because it was a lot of people trying their best on a story they were genuinely trying to see through. And that went on for the entire base Backroom server. But yeah.
Wow. Okay. Tell me about the roughest patch that you guys went through in early Backrooms content.
Early Backrooms would probably be, oh god, there was 2 or 3. IDK Test was a slight rough patch, but he was really short. I would say the Resurgency was when our writing got like shaky because we were running out of ideas.
Just by name alone, I can kind of get the feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes back.
Is after the Insurgency, there is an arc that I don't want to explain in too much detail because it's nuts. It's absolutely insane how much we went into world building, and how much we deviated from the original idea from the Backrooms. Like there's the idea of like multiverses and like what's outside of a multiverse and like forces of pure evil or pure good explained in a way where all of them are completely like, what's the word? Like pure good isn't pure good. It only gives life the choice. You know what I mean? And the reason the explorers
Okay.
are technically good is because they're fighting against something that's above their mortal plane. Like,
It
crazy
got
stuff like that.
it got like convoluted.
Super convoluted. So we branched off that arc, and it kind of finished on a way where it was just like, this is kind of closed, but there's like 5 big loose ends, like Joe2, Jose, who's actually a good character despite the garbage name. There's Joe2, there was Flynn, who got knocked out. There was the idea of outsiders and stuff. But I don't want to go. I'll give you the vague names of them. But we had like all these loose ends, so we're just how do we branch off from here without jumping into something that's too big for us to handle? And it's like, why not bring back the insurgency? Because there's like 4 or 5 members that were left behind. I was like, that could work. So we brought them back on level 5. And then they branched up. It's like, oh geez, we're fighting them again. Oh no. And then I was like, this sucks. So I ditched it for about a month. I was so sick of writing insurgency stuff.
For me, the hardest bit was probably, aside from the insanely low bar for content at the beginning, where it was, as I said, it was a really mixed bag, and you'd get the really good stuff on the subreddit only like once in a blue moon. But that was pretty bad, but also just like the incredible burnout after a while, because coming up with new levels it's hard. It's hard to do, especially before it was like before when
Before we all
was
started to collaborate.
the community was really restrictive back in the beginning. It was like you had to sort of, nowadays I feel like you can turn, for example, something like a big desert would not really fly in the original Backrooms. Hell, most people there was a community of people who just left outright because they saw the number 4 after the word level.
That's too high.
So,
2 + 2 = 4?
Too much.
What is
Go
this
away.
negative symbol? Negative levels? I'm out of here.
People got really frustrated with deviating from the original Backrooms, and it kind of made writing
really tough, is what he's saying. In the beginning levels, it was really tough to write anything because of the restrictive community. So at the beginning days, the first few months, it was really hard to write. Yes, I've said this a few times, but once I came back from that little break, that month-long hiatus, and everyone was kind of getting back into it, the idea was we grouped up all the protagonists on level 7, and then we're just going to make them go down and make a story as we go along. So they went down to 8, and then 9, 10, 11, and we made 20 levels. But after level 8, we didn't post them onto the fandom anymore because we didn't want people to steal them. So we made 20, and we ended it at 20, and then the explorers escaped, quote unquote, the Backrooms, and they went out. And it was a good bittersweet ending, because there was also some bad stuff that happened. A character died. A character got taken by this big force that was not okay. So it was a very solid finale. Like the finale for Backrooms, we wrote for like 8 hours straight in one day, and it turned out insanely well for a climax of a story.
I think that's a strong difference between the early works that you guys worked on and where we are now, because a lot of the early stuff, and I keep saying foundation and foundation and foundation, but there wasn't much to build off of. You got one thing, and then if you strayed too far from that original thing, people started nitpicking, like that whole level 4 thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not like the Backrooms I know. That's not okay. And now you got like 400 levels, and most people, they can just release any different kind of level and it'll just boof. It's right there. And nobody criticizes levels anymore based on how similar they are to anything. They criticize them based on how good they are as a narrative concept. And I think that's the main difference.
Like back in the day, 400 levels. Hell, people got mad, as I said, over level 4, but people just, the idea of having 10 or above was completely unheard of.
Like once we hit level 7, people were angry. Like I got hate males.
There was a ton of nitpicking in 8 because you know 8. It's a big cave. There's stuff in the cave, and cave is very different from yellow wallpaper fluorescent light place. So people kind of got annoying about it. Yeah. And
people don't like change.
Yeah, people don't like change. And it's really nice to be able to see the community kind of just be like, okay, we have the back rooms. People are trapped in this area. Do what you want.
And what I'm gleaning here is that this is not constructive, right?
Mm.
This is not constructive criticism they were giving you. This was just outright rude behavior.
Yeah, no, it was outright like, I am leaving the community because there are 8 levels. I hate you. Suck my dick. I am leaving and doing your mom. Yeah, it was just immature. And another thing is there was no age limit on the Discord, so anyone came in.
Anyone came in and did whatever.
Yeah.
I still believe that our age limit has some fundamental flaws. We can't control what people say, so I'm certain that there's probably some really well-behaved people who are under 15 and still lurking in our server.
Le spy.
Yeah, seriously. Like, that's the thing. I really don't think, like, the age limit shouldn't be a thing in terms of, like, who can come in and write an article. It shouldn't be based on how old they are. It should be based on how mature they are. Because we have someone in our old server named Mason who wrote, like, a really good character in a really good article, and we didn't know his age until, like, 2 months in, and he was 14 at that time. But,
yeah.
It's more just that, like,
it's maturity. It's about maturity.
Mm-hmm. And, like, no system, no, like, way to manage the younger members is going to be perfect. It's Discord.
Exactly.
It's a lot of people, and a lot of those people are, like, you can't see me, but I'm grimacing.
Exactly. Right. And we have a program for that. Our rule has enough lenience that we can actually go, hey, you said you're 17, but you're behaving like a 13-year-old, and because we can't tell the difference, we're gonna ban you anyway. And we can just get away with that, and I appreciate that. It lets us get around that because we know when you're lying. So it doesn't matter if you're actually 17. If you're not mature enough to participate in the server, you're next. Goodbye.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah,
that's the thing. A huge jump between the moderation of the old server. So a few weeks after the insurgency, the mods it was me, Bart, Flatfoot, who was the owner, and like Totally, I think, was a mod at that time. And just a few other members who were just lingering around the original. But the main two who were doing stuff were me and Bart. Because I got like the lesser mod role. But the big difference between how we handled situations like that is we did not ban that many people. We banned like maybe at most a dozen. There was a lot of people at the beginning who were like, oh yes, obvious trolls when everyone was coming in. But when someone was acting immature or they're insulting staff or something like that, it wasn't this instant ban. We usually confronted them, talked out with it, and then tried to go for like maybe a half an hour on a route. Just like, if you don't enjoy the community, you know, try to be nicer, try to like, if you want to talk to us at VC, we were very lenient on what you could say and how mature you could be. And there were channels of just like, if you want to do something stupid or you want to post NSFW stuff, do it here away. And it had like a warning, it had a lock on it, it had like an NSFW the little filter on it, so you couldn't go there if your account was underage. So we did have a lot of leniency before you got banned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one thing I don't know. Because I don't like the idea of just someone jumps in and they're an asshole right away and then you just instantly ban them. Because, like, it just seems too hollow. Because this community is small. Your guys' Discord has just as much people as ours did, you know what I mean? So when it has really tough rules for someone who comes in and is just like, oh, they're mean one day, and then they get banned and they can never participate again, even though they might have been excited for it, even though they were probably just trolling and they weren't, you know, a good person. Just that opportunity, or that chance, that slim chance that they were some person who was looking forward to it and they just had a crummy day.
It's hard to operate on that. It is like,
yeah, you need to put effort into it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't doubt that you guys are putting effort into it. Like, I think it's more just that, like, I don't know, the older Backrooms community was very, as I said, it's like it was kind of unmoderated. So there's a lot of good with the bad, but it was like, yeah. Nowadays, it's a lot more. It's a lot more. What's the word? It's not.
Strict.
It's
Just like
structured. It's more structured, and I
yeah.
totally respect that. I
Yeah.
think
No,
my
I
stuff
understand,
probably
but
would not fly in the modern Backrooms
I
just because
think
it's kind of low quality.
yeah, it's just well, that's the thing is like the Backrooms and just how it was moderated. Like this has been 2 years of my life. Me and Bart are now like really close friends. He knows more about me than like my family does, right? So there's a lot of like really closely like bonded friendships that came out of that, and it changed me as a person and a writer. Like it forced me to actually look at situations from like every side. And I don't know.
okay. So I think one of the main things different about your guys on that and my perspective on that is that I think you guys see the work that we do because most of it's behind the scenes. We will never confront a user in a public chat. Um, we either talk to them in DMs or we send them where we go talk to them in the server that isn't related to that. And so
Yeah.
if we get people who we don't like to confront them in the middle of or be like, hey, we're like, hey, could you tone it down? And then any further from that, it's like, hey, buddy, saying that there's a couple of problems. We move to like a mute or a kick if it like keeps going. But usually, the situation there is someone's just being genuinely racist. Like it's
Oh yeah.
never
Yeah, you
it,
can't give that really a second chance.
Yeah, no, we didn't really have that many issues with that though. I don't remember anyone jumping in and doing that in the original server.
we don't have a lot of borderline cases.
Hmm.
It's usually
Yeah.
either someone's being blatantly like a horrible person or like all we have to do is say, "Hey, buddy, calm down," and then they just do, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. I think I honestly handling things not in the middle of a chat is definitely the way to go. It's definitely the more mature route. So yeah, I respect you guys a lot for that.
Yeah, we have a whole secondary server just for staff stuff. So I have my whole Discord is filled with various backroom servers, but a lot of it is moderation. There's a whole separate ban appeal server that you have to go to if you have a ban on your record, and people come
Yeah.
in every day to that ban appeal server because they're doing nonsense. And usually, a lot of time, they'll go, "Hey, sorry about the hassle," wave at them, and we let them back in. It's a lot of behind the scenes. Uh, we like to talk about being transparent. We have the disk log. So if you're in the main server and you go into the administration channel, there's a log where we catalog every time we have to mute someone, and that's just so that everybody's clear on what's going on. But anytime that we handle a problem, it's behind closed doors. We don't want to stress someone out by putting them on
Yeah, I
blast.
think that's
Yeah.
great. I think the disk log and like private working it out thing yes, it's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it makes sense when you're going for a much more like well, here's the huge deviation between us two. Is like the Wikidot is a full open anybody can write anything kind of deal. But when we were about halfway through our story, it was like the biggest people of the server, like maybe 20 people at most, were writing this super immense, incredibly detailed, structured universe. And anyone who tried to write anything else, we were kind of like, you can go to the fandom. You can do something there.
It was really sad.
Yeah, actually, hold on. I have to ask you about that. So we have green lighting now. Who decided what's up to snuff?
Oh, uh,
Nobody really greenlit anything because the first week was so chaotic we couldn't keep up with everything. But
mhm. If there
the
was,
weird thing about that community is there was no other story except for ours. There's none.
yeah, it
There's just
was
people posting pictures.
it was kind of sad seeing like for a while, for maybe the first month or two, there was a lot of writing, and then you know how memes kind of go stale. You know how the Backrooms was a meme. A lot of people just considered it that and didn't really look beyond the surface. So a lot of
Yeah.
people who were on our Backrooms were really just there for that month, and once Backrooms stopped being in the public eye, or at least on the internet, they sort of phased out, and that left just like the hallway pictures and our stuff. And then other people got too intimidated to write stuff on their own, and it was really sad.
Yeah.
So it's great to see like all these other writers sort of writing independently and not worrying about being the best thing, because there's more room to do what you want. You don't have to make anything in a specific order. That's another thing actually, because there's a bunch of slots that are empty in between levels now, whereas that was not a thing in our
Yeah.
day. It was like
It was linear.
if you're making a new thing, it's going to be the next level, and
I
if you did,
I think we took that approach from
yes, and
SCP.
that's a much better system, because like
Yeah.
it means that
Well, it's a much better
Yeah.
system for what you're doing.
it's a much better system
Mhm.
because being able to do things without a set order allows you to have it be more of a community thing. And that's I think
Yep.
why people stopped really writing new levels back in our day, because it stopped being a community thing, because you had to make the newest thing, and it couldn't there had to be something it would have to be like if you're on 14, you have to make 15. And so on, 15 to 16. So it didn't really work for a lot of new writers, because whenever they would be like, yeah, I'm just gonna write something, people would kind of frown upon that.
Yeah, at least at the beginning, because like excuse me. After the second like arc, after the outsider stuff, and we got to the resurgency, there was like no new members. No one else came in really, because it was the Backrooms from that point up until like 2020 was completely dead. Nobody did anything. There was no new writers. There was like 2 people still lingering in the old server after we moved to the one we have now. But that was it. There was nothing until the Wikidot sprouted up.
Yeah, we sort of saw the rise and then the fall and then the rise of the community in like a complete timeline.
Speaking of the
Mhm.
Wikidot, I've heard that you're a little bit apprehensive to do a lot of stuff on the modern Wikidot, mostly because you're working on a current project, and you said something along the lines of, if I read or write on this wiki, it might change my views or my story development on the thing I'm working with privately, and I don't want to associate. Can I get a quick yes or no on that?
Oh, no. It's not going to, because the private work's already done.
Yeah.
We've finished that
It's been
story.
done
I'm
for
just
like over a year.
I have written almost 216 pages, enough words to fit the entire first Harry Potter novel, on the Backrooms. I have done unbelievable amounts of work on that, so I don't think anything can really persuade me to change the story. I don't want to get involved in the Wikidot because I am incredibly busy. I have 4 college classes, I have a job, and I have a girlfriend, so there's a lot of stuff like cluttering my schedule. So when I do write, I can maybe write like 2 pages of the script, and then I have something else I have to do. So the reason I don't want to participate in the Wikidot is because if I do get actually invested into it, it's going to take a lot more time to get back into old stuff, or it's going to take a lot of time to finish like work if I push that off, and I don't want to clutter my schedule anymore.
Exactly. What about you, Bart0nius?
See, I am more than willing to write for the wiki. It's just that I have this problem where I have the worst attention span known to man. And I will start writing something.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I will start writing something, and then I will instantly forget about it the moment I start doing something else. And then I will come back to it. Or like I'll make plans. Like with the level 7 rewrite took a while, even though I did it in a night, because I had to first get to the point where I was able to sit down and do it. And I also think that
I had this burst of inspiration yesterday. that lasted just a single hour.
Oh,
And I pumped out this huge 2-page diatribe, tale work between two characters driving around a race course. And like a moment that hour ended, I was like, I have no interest in writing this from now on.
That
I'm
is
gonna go
how
play
it
video
always
games.
goes.
And it's just that's the standard. That's the exact standard about
that's
writing.
I can't. That's the one thing I don't have that.
Lucky you.
I know that's the reason I've written so much, but like the timeline, the last 23 pages I did in one day. It was insane and incredibly exhausting. But I sat down like I'm going to finish the last 2 arcs in a day. I ate all the food at the computer. I drank at the computer, used the bathroom only when absolutely necessary, and I finished like 10,000 words in one day. It was nuts.
Then you just
Yeah,
died.
That's exactly what happened. But yeah, that's I get way too hyperfixated on the story when I do actually get into the story, and that's a huge thing that I want to cover a little bit later.
Maybe what's happening is that I think maybe what's happening is that for large periods of times you're just possessed by some sort of writing spirit that channels
Yep.
through you, and you have no control over it, and you're like, I have to sit down and I have to pour this out till I
See-
fucking pass of exhaustion.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
The writing spirit possesses me every so often, but then it gets bored. It's like, okay, cool, we've been here for an hour, I'm done with you. On to the other guy who can write like thousands of words in a day instead of 5.
Fuck this shit. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
watch anime.
I'm gonna go do anything else.
Yes, you write those 100 words, then you can pee in the Wendy's drive-through. Thanks, writing spirit. Very cool.
Oh my god.
Writing
Just
spirit
the-
is some
Yeah,
shitty
it's just
ghost.
a really dumb, bored ghost.
It has
But
Hey, we're getting writing ideas from the Backrooms Podcast. I've got to write the shitty ghost that possesses you for like an hour at a time in the backrooms, and you just do some bullshit, and then you wake up half an hour later, drenched in sweat, and you're like, why do I have so many bags of hot Cheetos?
where am I? What?
Ghost makes you take a near lethal dose of Ritalin and then write the entire Lord of the Rings saga, pass out, and then wake up in an ice bath.
Wake up in an ice bath in a thong and nothing else.
No kidneys.
What the hell?
You're
Yeah.
missing a kidney. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to cover that we kind of got sidetracked on?
Well, there's a lot. That's the rough part about not having like an exact outline. I'm really picky with this stuff, but okay, so beginning subreddit Discord, we went on, ditched the subreddit not too long into it because moderating a subreddit's insane. It's so tough. Because you can't just have bots that ban people. You can, but like usually it's for low
Yeah, you
effort
can-
posts or very specific rule sets that you
You
need in
can,
the Discord
but,
or
like,
the Reddit.
I don't
It's-
want to do that.
Yeah, it's so much harder to set up than Discord bots. So we ditched the subreddit after about a month or so. We ditched the fandom, made an entire story, an entire linear story. Not really, because that's the weird part. Is you guys focus on the backrooms as this insane concept that just cannot be explained. Like, is it metaphysical? Is it like is it actual physical place, or is it like all in someone's mind? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the difference between that and that? Because there's some levels.
And then
There-
you guys tell down.
Yeah, we tied it down and we followed what, like, if you took a film class or you took a literature class, they're just like, this is how you write a story. We followed that outline. We had character development and fleshed out stories, like universes of where these characters came from, and a full expanded lore on that, a lore on like what happened in the past, like the cycles of the backrooms and stuff like that. And we had an end where the backrooms collapsed and the explorers escaped, and that was it. Although we do have plans for a sequel, so that's the big thing I want to talk about. Is after we ended the backrooms, the main people who wrote it, again, like those 20 or so people, jumped ship. We made a new Discord channel with better moderation because Flatfoot
Ugh.
sucked. He sucked so much. So we ditched. I made a new Discord, or Lago and I did technically. And we moved everyone over there.
Like I said, another guy.
Yeah, he's another guy on there. But we made that new one, went over, and just completely isolated ourselves from everything. So we've been this incredibly tight little community. But after the Backrooms, we immediately jumped into a sequel because the finale was so good. It was so unbelievably well written. Joe did a phenomenal job explaining how it all works. And we jumped in, it's just like, let's do another collaborative thing right now. And we started with a new idea where the explorers on Earth long since passed away, and the stories of the Backrooms was passed down from generations to a new group of people like 200 years later, after space exploration was a thing, and after everyone was going, like, colonizing other planets and stuff like that. And the descendants of, like, all the people came out and they're just like, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to follow our ancestors' legacy and try to unravel the mysteries of our reality. What was the Backrooms? And it turned out like garbage, and we retconned the whole thing.
and then sorry for spoiling this, but doesn't it do, and it was all a dream?
It does. It does that.
Yes, it did!
Thing.
And that wasn't my idea, that wasn't Bart's idea, that was Joe's idea! And I ripped into him, and then he talked to someone behind my back and made him leave the server, and I was so angry with him.
Everything's cleared up by now, but
that
fuck
I called
you, Joe, we're calling you out.
when he was sick. Yeah, no, that was infuriating to deal with. But the story wasn't too bad. And we've since made another server to branch out called just the Backverse Project.
Like a thing to organize everything.
Yeah, and I'm going to use it more often once I finish the pilot script one of these decades. But we're going to go in there, and we have a lot of channels based off of each sequel. Like, we had an idea for that one that takes place in the 1980s, following a group of people.
We had like 3 sequels that all kind of didn't.
But the thing is, the idea is still there. So what I'm doing is I'm streamlining it, and I'm going to start to do all this myself in a way where I'm making episodes, I'm making a plot, and then we're going to do dialogue stuff just sprinkled in between. So it's become, like, from this baseline RP to a full... it is literally professional screenwriting. Like, that's it. I'll send you the idea, or I'll send you the outline of the first script, because it doesn't tell you any spoilers or anything. It's just like the characters going around level 0 and building stuff up. But it's formatted. It's formatted.
Love to read it.
Just like identical. I'm going off the Breaking Bad script and like Stranger Things and like movies. Like I'm going off Jaws, and I've read through 5 articles now of like every single thing you add in, and it's just so much work. But I love screenwriting. It's a lot of fun. So it's become a lot more professional.
So what are you using to make these scripts? It's just like a Word document, or using, because I've heard there's professional tools for script writing.
There's one of them that I want to get where it's just like this big script reader thing, where you can get a software off this website. It's like a big subscription. They'll probably eventually get, but as of right now, the timeline and the pilot script and everything is just stored in Docs, I'm pretty sure. Just Google Docs, and then I have a backup, and then I have a backup to that backup, then they're all saved on a hard drive. And all of them are protected, so... It's a lot of paranoia because it's
in a briefcase, and the briefcase is in a safe, and that safe stored in a bank vault.
Exactly. So it's that for now until I get the energy to get a subscription and get used to a new.
So like the ghost comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey man, you want to go take a shit out of Ritalin again?
The ghost is the only one who knows the passcode to the vault.
But. Yeah, the story's still going. I'm creating other ones right now, but I think I'm going to finish Backrooms first, the entire script. But the reason I'm jumping in now, and the reason we're breaking isolation after so long, is because I finished everything. I sent the timeline to one of the top... Seriously, the person who won the #1 best of show for a literature competition in the fair last year, I sent my script to him, and he read through it. He got it back to me, and he was like, this is insanely good. You should like pursue this idea. And I was like, okay. So now I have to do it. So there's a lot of stuff that I gotta do, but I really wanted to branch out and talk to some new people. Because I've been so just isolated.
I gotta ask. I gotta ask. So you've got this script here. You
Yes.
want to make this a TV show. Tell me about if you were the person in charge of this, which based on how production works, I don't
Well,
think that's even how that works or anything. But if you had control, who's your casting?
that's a good idea. I want to get Pedro Pascal for David, but that's never going to happen.
In a perfect world.
In a perfect world. But like just deviating a little. If I were to get this, I would have to get the script, pitch it to a producer. The producer would have to approve it, fund my idea, and I would probably be a writer for a studio who would all collaborate on it. So I'd probably be a creative director at most, and a screenwriter at least. But even then, it would be a huge project. It would be even better because I think I'm going to meet up with Lago once I'm finished with this, and then we're going to go down to, I think, there's a studio in Virginia, and then there's an opening for a Netflix original in Oklahoma. So probably one of those two places after I finish college.
Nah.
If I were. But
And how do you feel about if you submit this, right? If you submit this to a creative direction company and you still have
yes.
influence over it, but how do you feel about the fact that some of that control is going to be lost, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's like it's a lot of
like this. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of baseline things, and I think if they have more than 6 IQ, they would understand exactly what the story's going for. Like, it would satisfy almost everyone. The entire first season focuses on what, like, you guys do in a way. It's a very surreal mystery buildup of, like, the first few levels of just, what is this place? Why are the characters here? Why are these things there? What's the danger behind it? You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of questions. And the first, like, 6 minutes of this first episode I've written is purely silent storytelling. The only thing you hear is the buzz of fluorescent lights, and that's it. And it's just characters doing their stuff.
That brings you all back to the beginning of this, doesn't it? Because you had that initial, you saw that initial video about the Backrooms, and its description is completely silent except for the buzz of that
it all goes
exactly.
full circle.
You're getting my mindset. Yeah, there's a lot, but yes, some of the creative stuff will be taken. But if you look from, for example, I always go back to Breaking Bad because it's a phenomenal TV show. The original script for the pilot episode, there's a lot that was changed, but the base idea all the way through was almost identical. There's a few things changed. Jesse's original name was different. In the intro, the van that was swerving around the road didn't run over Walt's pants, but instead like a thing of cow poop. They changed that up. They changed when Walt meets Hank. It was originally like Hank opens the door and then it cuts to them in a diner. But in the show, they open the door, then they go inside and have like a surprise birthday for Walt. So like it's very little changes, usually made by the director to make more attention grabbing scenes, right? So yes, the control would be lost, but like you would still be getting the story that I would have promised. At least I would hope. There's some directors that suck ass.
What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet? You submit this, it goes to production, it happens. This is we're all praying for this, right? It goes to fruition, comes out, people enjoy it, and then people start writing fan fiction onto the Backrooms.
Oh boy!
We've already had this conversation
I
like
about
1,000
this really
times.
cool
I know
level
exactly who
idea for the Backrooms. I wish there was a community for this.
It was, no, there'd be. I know exactly who they'd sexualize too. Sasha Kenny would be the two biggest ones.
Sasha was a character.
It would Tiny and Bart. Tiny and Bart would be.
You have original Tiny was he was a dude, and
yeah, he was not a dude actually. He was a 7-foot tall sea monster.
But he looked like a dude.
He looked kind of humanoid with no eyes and a massive mouth.
I can't wait for the. I really need the Tiny Bart lemon fanfiction.
Oh God!
Really, that's what I was looking for.
You know what's really funny is David, my character, and Bart's character are gay for each other, and that has nothing to say about us. Kind of. Well, actually,
there was that one month.
There's that 1 month.
Anyways,
that's diving into personal stuff.
That's not.
But like, so those two would probably be shit.
More like we kind of stumbled you
into something I don't know if I wanted to look into.
Yeah. Again, we've known each other for so long now. What's crazy is I've known Bart since he was 15, and he's known me since I was 16. I'm 18 now. I'm an adult. So like, there's been a lot of changes since the start of everything. Just like maturity-wise, everyone's just grown up. It's kind of weird.
Life, man.
Life, man. Life finds a way.
I can definitely feel that. If I joined the Backrooms at 15, that would
Yeah.
not have been a good time. The thing I joined when I was 15 was with the SCP Wiki, and I would
Yeah.
not like to repeat that experience. I'm on good terms with them now, but I had to
Oh,
put in a lot
yikes.
of work to get back to any semblance of respect.
Oof. There is a lot to do with big communities like that where it's just risky. The internet can ruin people. It can destroy people. That's exactly what Twitter's for, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, you get tied to a name and you have to stick with it, right?
To
Yeah.
this day, I still get, like, maybe once a month, I get a DM from some dip ass on Reddit who came from our backrooms, and it's always the same thing. It is always the exact same thing. It's always like, "Hello, are you backrooms real in backrooms? How do I get in there with you?" And it's like, I it's literally just backrooms real every time.
Backrooms
it's like,
real? Question mark?
I always have to be like, "No, backroom, not real, go home."
You
Go to
should just
bed.
make your no Backrooms not real.
It's 8
Go
p.m.
home, yeah.
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Check later.
No backroom here, please, no.
Check next week.
Maybe Backrooms real one day in your dreams.
That was another thing. A lot of people would claim they had been there in a dream. Like, okay, I can't confirm or deny.
Cool, but like, I don't doubt it, because the Backrooms first levels are literally the blandest, like, office yellow building that anybody could have gone to
and that
at
was
any
like
point in their lives.
that was the whole appeal.
So,
Yeah, you had a dream. That's what
Yeah,
a dream
exactly.
is. You go to a place that isn't real. Welcome dream.
it's a place that your mind tries to fabricate
Yeah,
to feel real
Is
enough. Usually. That's if you're...
Yeah. Oh, I need to ask you about that. Your interpretation of the phrase liminal.
liminal space,
Liminal
like the
space.
thing that defines.
Yeah, like a liminal space.
If you look up liminal space, I'm pretty sure it means it's the transition
I always think of like
space.
a parking garage.
Let's see, liminal... Aesthetic known as liminal space is a location which transition between two other locations or states
Is that
of being.
your definition?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
No, that's the definition of liminal space. The definition.
Like according to
Yeah.
Google, right? A lot of people they extrapolate on that. Liminal space means something almost synonymous
Yeah.
with the Backrooms
Well, that's-
itself. And I was
that
wondering if that was
might
something
have-
that started early or later.
It kind of started early. I know there
Mhm.
was posts about it
I
right
mean,
away.
level 0 in its original form is
But
like that's
it-
the liminal space. It's like
Yeah.
it's really hard to put into words. Yeah,
Because that's kind of what it is. Because the aesthetic was a transition between, like a big office building to the quite literally the back rooms of that office building. So usually during the day and stuff, you'll find employees there and stuff like that. And liminal space is that, but empty. Like, you look at all the locations, it's just like an empty school, an empty hallway, building. Our story does start with liminal space, but what we did to kind of branch off from that is every single level is a fear, like a phobia of the human mind. And the first few levels is the fear of whatever it's called. I know everyone talked about it right away at the beginning. The fear of being lost in a familiar location or a liminal space. And level 7 was like thalassophobia. Level 8 was fear, like arachnophobia, because there's a lot of spiders in there. 9 was like the fear of pressure.
There were a couple in the middle that were like
symbolic
kind of had to stretch to figure it out because of
the fear of book. But yeah, that's kind of how we took the story, because it fit a lot better in terms of writing. Like, actually having an interesting thing of just like, oh, I can see that. That's intriguing. Instead of every single thing is liminal space and that's it. it's kind of hard to write when that's the case.
Yeah, for me, it was less about. First off, I was like 15. I didn't know what the word liminal means, and if I'm being honest, I always forget. But like now, I always forget. But what defined the Backrooms as like an aesthetic for me is it's something that it's like an environment that feels familiar, but something is very much off in a way that you don't like. Like for example, the first that's what kind of characterized level 0 for me, and I can really explain my process with level 7 in relation to this idea most effectively, because level 8 is cave and level 6 is dark. But level 7 being water is like more of a personal thing, because it's like, okay, take the ocean, now put it in a giant room. And also it's connected to just a regular room so that, you could have a story that didn't end in you fall in the water and die. Because oh yeah, no.
That's it.
See, okay, I'm gonna finish my first thought and then I'm gonna get onto that. But we have to get in this raft. There was like level 7 being just sort of a room full of water. It's like that doesn't exist. Why is that the way it is? I don't like that much. So that was, as I said, it's like it's a familiar-ish environment, but it's kind of off. And as for the other thing that I was going to mention, I think level 7 was not just my idea. It was mostly my idea, but I sort of got the prompt from a random post that I saw within the second day of being on the subreddit that I have never been able to locate since. But it was something about level 7, and it was like it was very characteristic of like the first few posts. It was like 2 lines. It was, "Don't go to level 7. The water is infinitely deep." And that was it. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Do not go to level 7 on April 21st, 2021. Worst mistake of my life.
Worst mistake of my life.
We're getting pretty close to closing. Is there anything that you guys want to say before we wrap this up?
Well, it was fun to be on, even though there's
a lot of jumping around,
and not a ton of consistency. But yeah, maybe be on in the future if you guys ever want us on again. But we'd love to talk about some Wikidot articles, some stuff like compared to how the original, because you guys, surprisingly enough, there's like 2 or 3 ideas on here that we had identical,
not even like
in our story, just kind of different. Like Seymour and the Game Master.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
We had
really? The Game Master.
The Game Master, Bart had that idea.
It didn't work as well as the Game Master did.
Seymour.
But it was, yeah.
Yeah, we changed it up in the final draft, but it was the same premise of just this voice or like this figure that controlled an entire level and made it into like a game show.
Just
okay, I have a question. You guys, when did you join the Discord?
When did we join the Discord?
For this wiki.
For this wiki.
For this wiki.
Jeez, I don't know.
Let me actually look up, because I joined and left and joined and left.
Because I'm wondering if you were online when Ray was online, because Ray is currently she's on an indefinite hiatus from the server, but she's going to lose her mind when she finds out that MacabreTomb said that they came up with
I have
Game
no
Master,
doubt.
but that hers was better.
I would love
to
see
lose
that.
her mind.
Yeah.
I was around when she was still here.
I was, but then I left and then joined back in.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys. Yeah, I'd love to have you guys back on. We have a couple more interesting podcasts coming up. A lot of them we haven't planned 100% in advance, but I know for a fact, and this is for the audience too, the next one is an anniversary celebration for the Wikidot being invented and pulled out of thin air. And we're doing readings. You guys have some pretty good voices, especially for characters. And I think that if you guys wanted to be there, I think we had an idea where we were going to have a whole bunch
sounds
of
really
people
fun.
on mute, and
Oh
they could
yeah,
come in when they wanted to do their reading.
yeah. No, I'll totally
Um,
jump in if you want.
So I think we're stacking up a bunch of people for that. I don't know. That's going to happen. It's going to happen in the future. We're excited. One is going to be actually, this
Yeah.
one's a special podcast. Scheduled podcast comes out every other
Mhm.
week, so bi-weekly. We have a week for recording and a week for editing, and this one we're recording in the middle of the week. We're recording it on a Thursday. It's special because we
Yeah.
wanted to get you guys in, and we wanted to have you guys on. I loved hearing about your time before the Wikidot. I loved hearing about your Reddit, and I think everybody else really will too. So yeah, I look forward to
Yeah,
having you guys
thank
back
you.
on.
Even though, again, it was everywhere.
Yeah,
but
they're always
yeah.
everywhere. We never this podcast never goes exactly how we plan.
I know. If you want me to like make an outline
Mhm.
for something, I could totally try to send one for you.
He's
For
the
like
outline
the next,
guy.
if you just want to have Bart and I talk about,
This is his.
I don't know. Yeah, I make. Dude, you don't understand how many outlines I've made in my life.
I love outlines. Please send me an
Maybe.
outline. Maybe we'll do a sequel to this. We'll do another
Yeah.
revealing the
Actually, hold
secrets
on.
of the early work.
Oh, this is too long. All right. Well, I'll just do it as a TXT file. Yeah, there you go. It's in general. This.
Is this what you came with?
Yeah, this is what I came with. This 3 pages is an outline that I was
I just
going to
sort of
cover,
rolled
but
with
I
it.
think I got most of it.
But yeah, no, it was.
Alrighty. I see a lot of valuable stuff for next time.
It was great being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do a goodbye intro.
Yep.
I've been Hylius.
I've been Bart0nius.
And I have been Mac. MacabreTomb.
And we will see you guys next week. Thank you
Yeah,
for
have a
tuning
good
in
one.
to the Backrooms Podcast.
Thank you.